Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do your complexion. I'm going to really break down everything from technique to the tools that I am using. Complexion has been my favorite thing lately and it's not as easy as it seems. So I really want to answer those questions that you may have. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. So first things first, when it comes to your base, you really want to make sure that you know your skin and that you prep your skin. Your skin is only going to look as good as you prep it. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you are going in with your moisturizer. I'm going to use my Pedro Thomas Roth Peter Thomas Roth moisturizer. I have been using this for about a week now. This one has hyaluronic acid, which is very necessary for my skin. My skin is definitely more on the dry side. However, I have been a little oily like in my T-zone, but for the most part it's dry. As you guys can see, I have been dealing with acne. It happens, you know. I'm doing what I can to, you know, take care of my skin and fight the issue. So don't be a bully, okay? Because we all get it. So my next step after this would be primer, but I recently ran out, and you know, with everything going on, the malls aren't open, the stores aren't open, so your girl can't cop some primer, which is fine. It's not a big deal. I typically reach for a primer that's hydrating anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this Luminous Setting Spray by Morphe just to kind of wake my skin up and prep it for what's about to go down. Now for foundation, my oh my, it's been a journey with me recently with my foundation. I switched it about 4 times. I was using Too Faced Born This Way. I still love that foundation, but like I mentioned to you guys, my skin has been oily in my T-zone, so it would tend to separate no matter how much powder I would set it with. The one that I've been using is a Smashbox Studio Skin 24 Hour. I really like this foundation. It's definitely more on the hydrating side. What I love about it is the undertone. It's a neutral / olive, which is literally my skin tone. You always want to be mindful of that. Know your undertone. If you need help, I recommend ask Sephora, wherever you buy your foundation from. Ask those questions because you want to make sure your foundation matches, and you also want to make sure that it fits your skin type. So keep that in mind when you are shopping for foundation. So I'm just going to pump some in the back of my hand. And then I'm just going to take this Morphe R30 brush and I'm just going to deposit the product. I like to go in with 1 layer first just to get that coverage. This is how much I use on my nose, which to me isn't a lot. And I'll tell you guys why in a second. So this is the first layer that I go in with. Now I'm going to take my Beauty Bakery sponge and I'm going to press this into the skin. These sponges are bomb, you guys. It's poreless, so it's not gonna suck up all your product. You're really gonna get the most out of your foundation with the sponge. However, because it is poreless, it tends to sit on top, so you do have to wash this at every use. That's the first layer of foundation. It's definitely my skin, but better. You can stop here. It's all preference, but I definitely feel like I need another layer. So I'm gonna go in with some more. This is my peanut butter banana smoothie with almonds. I drink these like every other day, which I shouldn't because I'm not trying to bulk, but I love them. So whatever. Alrighty guys, so the next step is concealer. If you thought you were done at foundation, you are not, sis. I can still see those eye bags. Cover it up. So what I like to use is NARS. You guys know I love this concealer. It's perfect if you have more of a dry under eye, but you still want coverage. It's literally the best concealer I've tried. I use this shade 2.2. It has more of a yellow undertone, so it's also brightening, which is what I love about it. I have more of a round face shape. I don't drag my concealer all the way out. Basically what that does is just widen the face, and I definitely don't want to do that. So I try to keep it directly underneath of my eye, and I'd much rather like drag it down to this area versus drag it out. It's all preference though. If you have more of a narrow face, you want to drag this out to make your face look a little wider. Sorry for the noise, you guys. I opened the window because otherwise I would die with this light in my face. It gets hot in here. Why are people outside anyway? Like, they're telling you to stay home. If I hear one more car outside, I'm gonna go outside and yell at them. Next step is crucial to your under eye and how it's gonna look throughout the day. I always have people asking me why their under eye always looks creased up, and it's 2 things. Either you aren't setting your under eye with powder, or you're setting it too late. So before I go in with any powder, I like to go over it again. It is very tedious, you guys. It is gonna take work, but trust me, it's worth it. Nowadays, I don't bake, you guys. I tend to just press the powder in, and I do drag it along the sides of my nose so that it kind of gives like that natural contour like appearance. I go on my mustache. Let me tell you guys what I used. I had to be quick and make sure that I set that right away, because once you set that powder down, that is it. That is how your under eye is gonna look. So if you had any creasing and you go over with powder, that's it, unless you want to redo your makeup. So what I use to set my under eye is this Laura Mercier powder puff. It's such a staple in my collection. It comes with her loose setting powder. However, I'm not a fan of that one. I find it to be a little too dry for my liking, but you can purchase this individually. I'm not sure if Sephora carries it, but I know Namies does, and it's about $9. So highly recommend this guy. You can throw it in the washer, or you can use soap, whatever you prefer. I love the way that it just presses the powder underneath. It gives you such a smooth airbrushed appearance. This is my favorite powder that I've ever used. It's the Huda Beauty translucent powder. This is in the shade Banana Bread, so again, it has that yellow undertone that I like for myself. Bomb powder if you're looking for a new one. So I mentioned earlier not to use too much liquid on the nose. Reason being is because liquids tend to separate throughout the day, so you want to minimize how much liquid you are using on the nose. And what I like to do is I take one of these little wedges right here. It has to be this kind. You can find this at Dollar Tree, 99-cent store, any cosmetic store. And I like to use the Morphe filter powders because they are pore filling, so they're gonna help with the nose. And what I do is I take the product and then I just press it into my beak. You want to make sure that you hit the corners as well. What this is gonna do is keep the makeup on the nose intact versus separating, because I know we all hate that. And I tend to drag it up to my forehead. It's okay if you go over your eyebrows because it helps get rid of that shine. You know what I mean? Like when your brows look a little like cakey. So feel free to kind of go over this area and get rid of that shine. Moving on to contour, blush, and all that good stuff. I forgot to do this. I usually do this part while I set my under eye, but I take some of my translucent powder and I just go over my cheek area. You want to make sure that it's nice and set, because if it's not, what's going to happen is your foundation, it's liquid, right? So it's not going to pick up any of the product that you're going in with. So I'm just going to set this down. All right, so the next step is bronzer / contour. So there is a difference, you guys. I kind of just want to throw that in there in case there's still any confusion. Contour is basically sculpting, so what you're doing is creating shadows, whereas bronzing is just adding warmth all over the skin. I kind of do a bronzer. It's like a bronzer / contour. What I like to use is this Morphe Glamour Bronze. They came out with these, I believe, last summer, but they only had 3 shades, whereas now they have 20 shades. I believe it's 20 shades, don't quote me. But this is the shade that I use. This is Originator. It reminds me of Hoola by Benefit, except it's not as matte and it's much more pigmented. And the fact that it's cool tone allows me to kind of sculpt with it. My favorite brush to bronzer / contour with is the JH05. Tools are so important, you guys. Find what you feel comfortable with. I like this brush because it's not super dense where it's like stiff, but it's also not flimsy, so it does the job. So what I like to do is stamp on the product because I have control of where I want it, and I also have control of how pigmented I want it, versus if I go in and sweep, essentially what I'm doing is just dragging the product, and that's why you spend longer time going back and forth. Try this technique out. Stamp the product and make sure you are dragging it all the way to the back so that you don't have that negative space between your cheek and your hairline. So I'm just really pressing this in, forehead. So now that I place the product where I want it, that's when I start to blend. So I start from the temples and then I slowly work my way down, and I go in little circles and then work it into the cheek. Now moving on to highlighter, the one that I'm currently loving is the Ofra Rodeo Drive, and I'm using my Morphe Gilded brush. I do the same technique that I use for my bronzer, so I like to go in and stamp the product on first. This allows me to have control of my placement because my biggest pet peeve is when I have flecks of shimmer in my bronzer. I hate that, so if you guys struggle with that as well, this is a good tip. I go ahead and go in with my second layer and start blending. Oh, I love this highlight, it's bomb. You want to make sure you use very soft pressure. I like to go back in with my bronzer, pick up just a little bit of product, and just go over and blend the two to make sure there's no harsh line. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and do nose contour. I feel like I really mastered nose contour. Let me know what you think down below. So the brush that I use is a Morphe E62. It's the best nose contour brush if you're working with powder. Still using that same originator powder, I'm gonna dip my brush. I like to start off with a little bit, drag it underneath my brow. That way you don't just have two awkward lines that just randomly stop. You wanna make sure that it connects to something. And then I just sweep and create that shape. You see the difference? It's already like creating a shadow and making it look like it can't breathe. I don't apply any product underneath because my nose is pretty chunky. It's not really gonna make a difference, and I don't really mind that it's like boop, you know what I mean? Whenever you get a little carried away with your nose contour, take that wedge and just press it so that it looks skin-like. Go back in with a little bit of highlight and go over my button nose. Cupid's bow. Look at me trying to do this with no mirror. Who do I think I am? And of course the temples, just a little bit. Next up is blush, and the one that I'm using is the Morphe Trio in Pop of Blush. And I'm gonna go in with this middle shade right here using my JH14 brush. I really love this brush. It's really light, it's not dense at all, so it's just gonna give you like that soft kiss of blush, which I love. I hate when it looks very harsh and stamped on. I learned this technique from Makeup by Ariel. If you guys don't know who that is Kylie Jenner's makeup artist. And he is notorious for creating such beautiful face makeup. And I'm gonna sweep the blush pretty close to my eye because what this is gonna do is give you a youthful appearance. I'm gonna go ahead and set my makeup. I'm using the Morphe Luminous Spray. I can't stress enough how essential setting spray is. Not only does it set your makeup and, you know, improves the longevity, but it also just melts everything together and makes it look more skin-like, especially when you're going in with layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my face. It smells like coconut. I really like this one because it's not an aerosol can like their original one, but it doesn't shoot at you like crazy. You know, the kind that are like this and they just like attack you. This one doesn't do that, so highly recommend. Don't mind me.
Coronavirus!
I didn't cough. You did. Did I forget to sweep underneath before? Now that I've added setting spray, it's like they're not gonna want to move. Idiot. I'm gonna apply my lipstick off camera and I'll be right back. That completes today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you learned a thing or two about complexion. Practice makes perfect, so grab your tools and go in, and trust me, you will get it down. Make sure that you are staying safe out there. Wash your hands, drink that vitamin C. I'll see you guys on my next video. Before you leave, give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below if there's any techniques that you're going to incorporate into your everyday makeup routine. And also don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on my next video. All right, you guys, so this next step, what am I looking at? Where's the camera? Practice makes perfect, so make sure you are grabbing your tools and practicing. Trust me, practice will make perfect. Like I said, terrible. I need to get my shit together. Coronavirus got me fucked up.